All right, let's be real. You hired a virtual assistant to get your time back, right? So why are you spending more time babysitting than if you just did the task yourself? The issue is not your VA. It's actually your training or your complete lack of one. I made the same mistake too when I first started hiring back in 2021. I would basically just dump a bunch of documents, a bunch of SOPs, hop on a few calls, and call it a training. And then I would wonder why they couldn't figure things out. You see, you don't scale simply by hiring more hands. You scale by building brains on your team. And that starts with how you train. In this video, I'll walk you through my training pyramid level by level. It's the one I rely on for my own businesses and that we give to all of our clients. It's how we take a VA from zero context, zero background, and turn them into a high-level operator. I'm Zach. I'm the founder of Talented. We've placed ops talent from the Philippines for 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs. We have our own Amazon store that does $1 million a year in revenue, and I've been hiring from the Philippines since 2021. So here's a sneak peek at the training pyramid we follow. There's 5 levels to go with it. Now, the typical training that I will see, especially with VAs, is first giving too much info too fast. It's like if you started your first day at a job and the first thing they did was slam down an instruction manual, 200 pages, and said, here's your training. That's what some people I see do. And I, like I said, I did the same thing too. So I'm not immune to this, but imagine if they'd just given you a pamphlet or like chapter 1, you might actually understand it. Whereas that instruction manual, if you do read it, you're not going to retain any of that information. Typical training rushes into SOPs before they understand the context and software before they understand what it is the software is doing. It's also very task focused, like the what instead of the why. So the training pyramid works by basically like a video game. You go through, you have to pass this level, demonstrate you understand it until you can move up to the next one. I think it works, and it's worked in my experience because it mirrors how humans learn. You know, we take the foundation and we build on top of it. It avoids overloading them because you're only presenting information in small bite-sized parts, and it builds that momentum so they gamifies it a little bit. You get up, move up, move up. It also reduces friction for the next level. So like, because you know this one, this base level, this next level is gonna be a lot easier. And it trains in a way that people understand the thought process. It gets them to think outside the box rather than just how to follow a step-by-step process. Because a lot of people can do that. Not everyone can think outside the box without training. So the 5 levels of my training pyramid start with the context at the bottom. This is where you explain like the mission behind your company, why it exists, why this role is important. Then we go into the manual execution. So that's getting a bunch of reps without any shortcuts like base, sandbox, core concepts. So like the mental models and frameworks that I follow. Then software to automate that, and autonomy, how to actually get those feedbacks going so that they own the outcome. Now, if you skip a level, you're finding yourself having to revert back. So I would go in this order for maximum output. So level 1, the foundational context. This level exists because people are going to fight for the outcomes that they understand. If they know why their role matters, if they know the game they're playing, they're gonna wanna win. They're gonna wanna, it makes more sense to them why this role is important. So in this, I will cover the mission, the vision, the values, why this company exists in the first place. Then the business model, basically how we make money, what is paying their salary, what success is gonna look like in this role for them, what I think a good job looks like, how their specific role, if you think about the business like a jigsaw puzzle, how their specific role, how they fit, their puzzle piece fits in there, and why their work is important to themselves, to the team around them, and to our customers. Tactically, this looks like having an intro loom because I could just send that out to new hires. I don't have to keep recording or keep doing these same meetings over and over again. So intro loom with our origin story, why we exist, then a 1-page doc specific to this role. And at the top, I put this throughout different documents, but especially on this one, reminding them of the mission so we have some North Star, some sort of grounding. The KPIs they're going to be most responsible for, depends on the role, and laying out a 30, 60, 90-day plan, where I expect them to be at each of those intervals. Then a flow chart of how our company works, like how we go, say for example, in like Amazon business, how we go from purchasing to in the customer's hands. So I have a couple different examples here of businesses that we have worked with in the past and VA roles they've hired for. So for an omni-channel e-commerce reseller that is hiring a product listing specialist, we're going to explain to them, the specialist, that this role matters because clean listings are going to mean more sales because the customers trust us more. The speed it takes you to list them drives a revenue velocity, and the more we can sell through, the more capital the sourcing team has. Metrics for this role would be listings posted per day, monthly revenue they've generated, and click-through rate of the listings. For a physical therapy clinic that's hiring an inbound appointment setter, we're going to explain to them that they're the first connection point for someone in pain looking for relief. And also, the faster their response times are, the more we keep the therapists in the office booked. Metrics would be average response time, lead to booking conversion percentage, and no-show rate. For a 3PL warehouse that's hiring a client coordinator, we might explain to them that the better they do their job, the more we can retain our clients for long-term revenue, and we keep the warehouse team focused on doing their job. Metrics would be internal team feedback rating, client churn rate, and issue resolution time. Completion of this first phase, this context phase, for me, this usually takes 1 to 2 days. I mean, it's not much, but it's definitely crucial. But completion here means they can explain how the company makes money, who it serves, and why it exists. They can articulate what the top KPIs are and how they're calculated, how they connect to the business goals, and they can describe how their daily tasks are going to benefit everyone around them. This stage is about understanding the why behind their role. Then we go to level 2, manual execution. This is just getting those reps in. I use this as a way to buy back my time. We focus on the stuff that I'm already doing, that we already have processes for, and just plug them in there, building that muscle memory. Some people are too impatient for this step and they skip to software, and then they find someone only knows how to use the software and they don't understand why they're actually doing it. So in this, I cover full workflows for core repeatable tasks. Like I said, ones that I'm already doing or another team member is already doing. We cover common failure points they might face, how to deal with those, and how to self-audit, as in like how to double check and triple check their work. Tactically for this, I follow the EDGE method: explain, demonstrate, guide, enable. Explain just in writing or in a video call. Demonstrate is where I screen record showing myself doing the task. Guide is having them screen record or screen share and show me how they're doing the task. Enable is letting them do it on their own. So I'll do an SOP or a loom again of what to click. Now in this stage, I'm focusing solely on what to click. I try to avoid the mental models and the frameworks because that comes later. I'll explain why. And I'm assigning one task, making it mock work so there's no stakes, like putting them in an environment that isn't dealing with real customers, and just repping through it over and over again, facing different scenarios, different examples. So for a product listing specialist, this could be hand building a complete Amazon listing end to end. No tools, no templates. For an inbound appointment setter, we could set up a ChatGPT prospect call where we give them a profile and practicing what they would say and typing those notes into a Google Doc. And then a client coordinator, I'm just gonna present them with a bunch of past scenarios, past cases that we face, and have them solve those. Completion here means they can finish those core tasks without any help. And then we move on to level 3, the core concepts. Now, the reason why this comes after the manual execution is because I find you need the context of the task, because the concepts is theoretical. And if you do that first after it's just more theory. And so you don't know how to apply that. And so when you do the manual execution first, now the core concepts make more sense because you can apply it to the task you just did. So this level exists to teach them how to think and how you think, transferring your judgment to them so they can make decisions on their own. In this, I'm going to cover the mental models I use for decision making, how I prioritize and decide what to do. For example, when speed matters more than perfection, when perfection matters more than speed. The first principles behind the process, so why are we doing it in this specific order and what breaks if we skip something in the order. If-then rules and decision trees, so you can turn judgment, because intuition can't necessarily be taught, but a lot of it can be distilled down to, I believe, just repeatable logic. If then rules, just it gets pretty complex, but like why you chose A over B. So tactically, again, I'm a big fan of Looms. Makes it really easy to like asynchronously keep, and they can go back and look at them too. So this is where I'm going to record my screen and narrate what I'm doing, why I'm clicking what I'm clicking. Like for example, I'm checking this first because if this part is wrong, then the rest of it doesn't matter. Breaking down real decisions I've made in the past. So here's the decision I was faced. Here's what my options were. Here's how I was thinking through it. Here's why I made the call that I did. Here's what I'll do differently next time. Then presenting them with fork in the road scenarios. So situations they might face that they haven't been trained on yet, and saying, what would you do here and why? Because we really, in this stage, we really want to train that intuition muscle and not just handing them the answer to every scenario, just giving them the playbook. It's like we want to train that think on your feet mindset. Then a reflection log. So at the end of the day, they can look at the decisions they made for the day, lay out what their options were, why they chose what they chose, and if they would make the same call again. This one is trying to get them to think deeper about their decisions. So for a product listing specialist, say if I'm trying to teach that accuracy is more important than keyword stuffing, I might present them with a scenario of, you notice a similar ASIN already exists, but the brand name is slightly off. Are you going to list it under that one, create a new variation, or reach out to support? For an inbound appointment setter, if I'm teaching the core concept of leading with empathy, then qualifying, then I'm going to present them with a scenario like a caller just got into a car accident. They're overwhelmed. Are you going to gather their insurance details, try to book them into an appointment, or are you going to refer them elsewhere? For a client coordinator, if I'm trying to teach proactive updates over reactive apologies, the scenario of a snowstorm is delaying shipments from 2 carriers. Are you going to message the clients in advance, wait it out, or ask ops first before saying anything? Completion of this level means they can explain the why behind why they made the decisions that they made. They can apply the principles and mental models to solve new situations that they haven't encountered yet, and they can reflect on their decisions to make better ones next time. Level 4 is when we get into software and tools. Software, we have to keep in mind, is made to amplify. It's made to multiply the skills, not as a replacement. So we use software to do what we already did, just at scale. This frees up your VA's time because they're getting it done quicker, but also their mind so they can be focused on the higher value decisions. In this, we cover, of course, role-specific tools, so like CRMs, listing platforms, project management, Zapier, what outcome each tool is going to support, and then mapping that tool to the manual execution task we did. So connect the dots for them. Like, here's how you would do manual task using this tool. Wow, it makes it so much quicker, doesn't it? AI assistance, not in a way of like, just as a way to copy and paste things from ChatGPT, but teaching them how to use it to make informed decisions, to do research, to get a second opinion, not just copy and paste whatever it says. And also covering where the tool is gonna fail you, when not to trust the output, and how to know troubleshooting for it. Then tactically, we could do a Loom, actually using the tool in the context, going through a real workflow. Then a break the tool challenge, so presenting them with a scenario where there's an error baked in, they don't know about it, and getting them to go through that troubleshooting process and come out with a solution that you did not present them. And then for the tools that I've been using for a while, sharing my micro SOPs, like my save filters, my macros, my hotkeys to speed up their workflow. For a product listing specialist, we could replace the individual listing creation with a bulk listing software like SKU Vault. For an inbound appointment setter, if they were manually dialing and typing notes into a document, now I can show them go high level workflows and AI transcription. If it's a client coordinator, they before were tracking client updates and orders through emails and spreadsheets. Now we can show them ShipHero and Zendesk. Completion of this step means they can finish core workflows using the tools, obviously. They know which tool to use for what, and they can identify when a tool's output seems incorrect and troubleshoot to a solution. That brings us to number 5, autonomy, the feedback loops. Now, these before are all very defined. This one is more like kind of infinite in a way. You know, you're always going to be going through these repeated feedback loops, and it's the one that could take the longest, I would say. This level exists so that you as the founder can move into a strategist role. You're out of that day-to-day. You can give someone the outcome, and without providing all the direction to get there, they can figure it out on their own because they understand the context, they understand the concepts, the mental frameworks that you've gotten up to that point. Without this level, you always be the bottleneck. They're always gonna be waiting on your instructions and your input. In this, we cover outcome-based responsibility, so how they own their KPIs, the leading ones and the lagging ones, leading like daily inputs, lagging being outcomes like revenue or profit, then optimizing the system, so how they can identify inefficiencies, bottlenecks, opportunities. For my team, tactically, the first one is having them report the KPIs to me. So every month we have a KPI meeting where they tell me how our progress is year over year, month over month, what we're gonna do to improve those the next month, and having them propose their own goals for the KPIs. Coaching emotionless problem solving. So when something goes wrong, instead of playing the blame game, just asking calmly, where did our system break? And how does this solution that you just came up with align with our goals? Internal loops, so having them solve problems between each other before escalating it to me. Peer mentorship, so if we have a new person come on or if someone's learning a new role, having another team member teach them, because as they say, you can't really master something until you can teach it. And then my favorite one, incentives tied to ownership. So bonuses, praises, raises connected to outcomes that they drove themselves. For product listing specialists, level 5 means they are fixing underperforming listings on their own. They're running A/B tests of different variables, and they're maximizing their listing KPIs. For an inbound appointment setter, they are analyzing common objections they keep facing, proposing optimizations to the script based off those objections, and maximizing their booking KPIs. For a client coordinator, they are identifying bottlenecks that they keep facing and proposing optimizations to the tools and the processes, and they're maximizing the client KPIs. Completion of this phase means your team maximizes their KPIs, they identify problems and fix them before they even get to you, they train and support other team members, and they escalate to you only when necessary, and if they do, it has context. Like they explain what they've tried, what their proposed solution is. This is how you achieve true leverage and true freedom from the day-to-day of your business. Most founders think that failure with a VA means they made a bad hire, but often it's just bad training. You rushed it, you skipped the context, and you taught them tasks instead of how to think. So now you have the system, one that turns a VA into a reliable operator. The tactical is the easy one. That's just getting the reps in. But you scale by building people who can think without you. And that starts with how you train. So build context before the skills, deliver training like a game, teach your decision frameworks, and transfer ownership. You either run this system or your VA is gonna have a hard time figuring it out. Now, there's still one crucial piece missing. You have to find and hire these exceptional team members to teach this to in the first place. So if you want my full 2-week process, there's a video linked right here. I appreciate you watching the end, and I'll see you in the next video.